Today, we're gonna go over how you can level up as a music producer in 2025. I'm gonna be talking about how to level up your music, how to level up your networking and connections, and lastly, how to level up your business and make more money, and a whole lot of other good stuff. I've personally been lucky enough to get songs with people like Future, 21 Savage, SZA, and many more, and I've also built my online business with music production to making well over $1 million. I've also been building my personal brand for a few years, and we recently just hit 100,000 subscribers, so thank you guys so much for that, by the way. But anyways, I want to give you guys some knowledge and insights into what I would do and what I actually am going to be doing in 2025 to level up as a producer with my career and my music. And to start off, I want to talk about leveling up your production skills. The reason I want to go over this first is that nothing else really matters if your music isn't good. For example, if you picture a restaurant and they had terrible food, it doesn't matter how good their marketing is, how good their logo is. If people try their food for the first time and it's terrible, they're most likely never going to get business from that person ever again. And the same exact thing applies to music production. If your music sucks, no connection, no network, no strategy is going to save you. You're always going to have some kind of challenge making stuff work on the business side of things because the product just isn't good enough yet, which is fine. Everyone who you look up to and admire, either musically or where they've gotten business-wise within the music industry, everyone started at that point where their music was not good. And if those people can improve and get to that level that you want to be at, so can you. That being said, I want to give you guys some things that I would do if I was going back a few years to when my music really wasn't at that level, and what I would do to improve faster so that I can one day worry about all this business stuff. The first thing that comes to mind is binging YouTube tutorials. So I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this spend a lot of time on video games, Netflix, scrolling on TikTok, whatever it is. All that time that you spent doing that, let's say you even only spend an hour a day doing all that kind of stuff. If you spent an hour a day actually watching YouTube tutorials on how to make beats, you would get better way faster. For those of you who don't know, I run a Discord server with like 26,000 producers in it, and I see so many fire producers that are like 13, 14, 15 years old, and they're actually really good at making music. And I think the reason is there is so much information accessible nowadays. There's so many tutorials out there, and if you really lock in and actually watch these tutorials and learn from people who are better from you, you're gonna get better a lot faster. But don't get in the trap of over binging YouTube videos. If you're not actually putting it into practice, it doesn't really stick in your brain as much as it does if you learn something and then you do it right away, right after. Your memory just kind of stores that better, at least in my experience. So overall, spend more time actually doing than you are watching videos. And one more tip, just kind of going along with those tutorials, this is something that I would do all the time when I was really trying to learn something, or even if I'm trying to learn something new, a new genre or whatever it is. I would copy tutorials as close as I could, one for one. And I'm not copying tutorials to, take that music and market it as my own. I'm strictly copying the tutorials one for one, trying to recreate the exact beat, the exact melody that they're making in the tutorial, just so I can learn what they're doing. Copying one for one and following along is a great technique. And kind of going off of that, even if you're not doing it just to learn, if you ever get beat block, watching a tutorial is one of the best things that you can do to get over that. I remember in the past, whenever I would get beat block and I just couldn't come up with a good progression to get something started, I would go watch a tutorial on how to make a Drake R&B loop or something. And then I would look at the chord progression that they're using and be like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna do something like that, but I'm gonna make it my own. So you go and steal a chord progression from something else, but then flip it on its head into something different if you're actually making your own music. That's something that helped me a bunch in the beginning to get over beat block and just continue being consistent making music. And speaking of being consistent making music, that brings me to my next point. Quantity leads to quality. So I see a lot of people who are, more beginner producers, and they're stressing over making every project that they're working on perfect. But my theory is, if you sit there and you make 3,000 beats over the course of a few years, there's no way that you're not improving. A lot of times people ask me, how do I stay so consistent with all the stuff that I'm making? Why do I not get beat block? I really think it's just because I've been doing this for so long and I've made so many beats, so many melodies, that I just kind of know what to do. I think you have to go through a season of just quantity and just putting the reps in and learning and actually being intentional when you're making new stuff and trying to improve on your last beats, not just making the exact same thing over and over. And then once you get very good, then I think it becomes more valuable to spend a little bit more time on stuff to make it a little bit more unique and not just be mindlessly making stuff to make stuff. The next thing that I think will tremendously improve your music, and it did for me, is learning the piano or some kind of other instrument. Whenever I actually sat down and learned the keys, melody making became so much easier. Now I can just sit down on my piano, my synths, my MIDI keyboard, and I can just play something that sounds good. And you could choose any instrument, but if you don't know which one that you want to pick up, I would definitely recommend starting with the piano. And And I actually did a whole entire masterclass on how to learn piano, so I'm not going to go super in depth on this, but essentially my method is to learn one key at a time. So I learned C minor. That was the first scale that I learned, and I learned it religiously. Then once I got fluid with that, I learned all the chords in C minor, the triad chords, and I learned how to play them up and down the keyboard without thinking too hard. Then I learned the 7 chords, etc., until I was able to play pretty much fluidly in that key. Because if you learn one key very well, you could just transpose that in audio or in MIDI after you play it. And it's a lot easier than trying to focus on all the different keys all at once. Just learn one specific thing, and then from there you can branch out. And in general, this leveling up your music stage is what takes the longest amount of time. I see a lot of, especially younger people who, are 1 or 2 years in and they're super impatient to get their first placement. And that's not to say that you can't get really good in a year or two if you're really locked in and you're talented. But if I'm going to be honest, I feel like it took me 5 years to get to a level where my music was good enough to actually build a real business upon it. If I'm being real, the first year and a half, I didn't even know where to put a snare on the grid. And honestly, I think 90% of the time, whenever I talk to an up and coming producer who's, struggling with making money or getting connects or getting views on their stuff, whatever it is, almost every time the problem is their music. It's not cutting through the noise. It's just not standing out. It's not extraordinary. If you feel like you're at this stage, I've got something that'll help you a ton. Last year, I started the Sonics Academy, which is essentially an exclusive community where I mentor up and coming producers on how to make better music, how to make more money, how to network, all the stuff that we're going over in this video, but just on a deeper, more in-depth level where you can actually ask me questions face to face on calls, get my thoughts on your music, and we even have other multi-platinum producers on as guests to review you guys' music, answer questions. And if you're a serious producer, I want to help you make this year your year. So for the first 5 days of 2025, January 1st through 5th, you can get the yearly plan of Sonics Academy for 60% off. Normally it's $247 a year, so you're going to get it at a huge discount, and you just have to use the code NEWYEAR at checkout with no spaces. And like I said, this will only work on the yearly plan because I really feel like you need to put in a longer commitment than just 1 month to really see results. So yeah, there's a ton of valuable stuff in there. Almost all of the courses that I've ever released are in there. You have access to them, so you're getting weekly calls, courses, exclusive community, and I even did a 2-hour masterclass on how to network, which brings me into the next portion of this video, how to level up your networking. All right, so assuming that your music is at a good level and you want to start networking with some bigger producers, engineers, all this kind of stuff to get your music out there, there's one key thing that I think a lot of people neglect. You have to make your Instagram profile look good. Nowadays, your Instagram profile is like the equivalent to your resume as a producer. So if someone's first impression of you is 3 followers, you just spam a bunch of type beat visualizers and black screen recordings, you have no pictures of your face, they don't see any big name credits or anything, they don't see any value in working with you. Which, yes, it does suck that you have to get people to think there's value in working with you to work with people, but that's just kind of the way it is. So on your profile, you should definitely show your face, have some pictures of you in a studio or something, or just, I don't know, some nice fit pic. Even if they're not huge placements, if you have some songs out, you could post the cover arts of those. Overall, I think your profile should show what you look like, show some stuff you've worked on, whether that's a placement, a loop kit that you dropped, a drum kit, whatever it is, and also show off your work. That's not just a black screen recording that looks terrible on your profile. And another thing that you can do to make yourself look better on Instagram without actually posting anything is to work on your mutual followers. Now, what I mean by this is, let's say you wanted to network with me, for example. If you wanted to increase your chances of me looking at your profile and actually deciding to respond to your DM whenever you reach out to me to work, one thing that always catches my attention is if I click on your profile and I see that you're followed by 20 people that I work with that I respect, I'm way more likely to actually give you a response. So I think you could go and, let's say that there's these 10 producers that you want to work with, look at who they're following, look at who they're maybe posting placements with, who they're working with consistently, and start to follow these people and reply on their stories, actually try to make a relationship with the people these bigger guys know so that they follow you, and then maybe you'll get that big person to follow you, and then when you reach out to the next big person, they see that that big person's following you, and you can kind of see how that kind of stuff just helps a lot with networking. Essentially, it's social proof. So anyways, let's say that you've worked on your profile a little bit. The next thing you need to do is actually find people to reach out to. So I'm going to give you some strategies and examples for some of the key people that I would look to reach out to. First one I'll go over is kind of the most obvious one, is to reach out to big industry producers to get placements. And I know a lot of people have talked about this method, but essentially the easiest way is to just go on Genius. Let's say you wanted to work with 21 Savage. You would go to 21 Savage and then go to his most recent album. And the reason you want to go to the most recent album, I think, is because these are the people who are getting songs with him recently. So boom, just go through right here, and then you could click on all these different people and find their Instagram right here. You could go through this whole entire album and find probably 20 to 30 producers that you may have not known about to work with. But yeah, Genius is a great tool because you could just click on their Genius profile and then scroll down, and 90% of the time they have their Instagram linked. So boom, you got someone's Instagram right there. And the other way that I would go about doing it is I would go on like a big producer who's getting a lot of placements, and I would look at their placement post. Let's just go to, I don't know, one of my recent placements, this one with G Herbo. And then I would look, Kavi got this song with G Herbo with this dude Hayes and BJ Beats and Paolo. I'm gonna go follow Hayes, I'm gonna go follow BJ. And then all of a sudden, you know, you go to this guy's profile, and you're like, oh, let's look at his. Who did he get this Lil Durk plaque with? Oh, Tons of Trent. I don't know who that guy is. All of a sudden you start to just become a student of the game, and you'll just start seeing people post, and then you'll just know who's working on what, and you'll have a better idea on who to hit up for what. Essentially, the next type of person that I would be hitting up, especially as a loop maker, are big type beat and BeatStars producers. So essentially my strategy when I was coming up was to work with these big type beat and BeatStars producers, send them my melodies, they would use them, collab on a beat with me, and then post them 50-50 sales splits with me. I essentially got 50% of the sales without having to build my own brand on BeatStars and YouTube to make those sales. The first way that I used to do this is I would just go on here, and let's say you make Rod Wave type beats, type melodies, and then I would go down the line and find all these people's Instagrams, hit them up. Also look up similar artists. So like Rilo Rodriguez probably uses the same genre of stuff that you're making. If you're making Rod Wave type stuff, look up all these, hit up all these people, find all the similar artists that could use the kind of melodies that you're focused on making. Also, if you're making beats, you can hit up these big industry producers and type beat producers, even if you don't make melodies, and you could start sending them FLPs. I see that's a big thing that's going around nowadays. People are sending project files instead of just loops. But anyways, that's how you can go and find them on YouTube. Also, you could do it on BeatStars. So on the top charts, you're going to see all the people who are the top selling producers on BeatStars. So I would go on here and just look into all these people, but I would find everyone on this list who is making the kind of stuff that I can make. And I would put all these people into some kind of Google Doc or whatever to hit them up and network with them. And essentially with networking, it's a numbers game. All right. And the next kind of person that I would hit up is engineers, especially if you're going for placements. And I would do this essentially the same way that you would do the industry producers. Let's say I wanted to work with Lil TJ. So I'll go to this song right here. You could scroll down to the bottom right here, and then you could see who engineered it. So you want to try to hit up these recording engineers, right? You could see, oh, wow, yeah, he's done a lot of stuff with Lil TJ. So then you go right there. And then from there, you can work on networking with him and trying to send him beats that he can play for Lil TJ. And working with engineers is sauce. That's how I got one of my songs with Lil Baby, which I'm hoping comes out one day. So don't sleep on working with engineers. They're actually in the studio recording the artists every day, playing them beats off their computer. So it's a great person to lock in and work with. So the next thing I want to talk about is, you know, you found all these people to reach out to. How do you actually reach out to them and provide value? So I thought I would give you some examples of strategies that you could try. First thing that comes to mind is my boy Zippy Tano, who's now got songs with Lil Baby, Rod Wave, Lil Uzi, Future, Lil Durk. But at one point, he had none of that, and he was offering bigger producers free artworks for their kits, providing them value. And in exchange, they're more likely to, you know, actually read that message whenever you reach out to them. If they do actually bite the bait and work with you, they're probably going to feel somewhat indebted, like, dang, like this dude's doing all this free stuff for me. Like, they're going to try to figure out a way to kind of repay you because they might feel bad for taking advantage of you and getting a bunch of free work. Not to say there's probably some people out there who will be fine taking advantage of you. That'll be part of the game. You could also do this with video editing or any kind of skill that you have that you could offer free work for them to help them out. Another example, my boy Nick Dean, he wanted to connect with Boy Wonder, who's one of Drake's main producers, if you don't know. And he did his research and studied a little bit, and he knew that Boy Wonder was into fashion. So what he did is he got this custom Louis Vuitton jacket and then made a custom wood box with like Boy Wonder engraved on it and hit Boy Wonder up and was like, yo, whatever, blah, blah. I got this like free designer jacket. I'll send it over to you. Got his address, shipped it over, and then just like that, he got the connection with Boy Wonder. Another example that I personally did, I wanted to make a connection with my best friend Jacob, who runs a big VST company. He's also worked with people like Travis Scott, 21 Savage, Metro Boomin. I wanted to learn from him on the e-commerce side of things. So one of the things that I did is I made fully edited, super high quality ads for one of his VSTs that he could run. I didn't ask him for payment. I didn't ask him to sponsor me, and just sent them over to him. And he was like, damn, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously I'm not Jacob. I can't speak for him, but I'm assuming that that kind of made me stand out out. So get creative with what you're doing. Just think of what you could do that could be valuable. Let's say you play an instrument. You could hit up someone and be like, yo, I'll play live flute over your samples completely for free. That's way more attention grabbing than, yo, bro, let's collab. All right, so now hopefully you've got some ideas on how to actually find people and what kind of value you're planning on providing them. So real quick, I want to give you some example messages because I get a lot of people asking like, what kind of message do I actually send? So the way that I would structure your message is you want to create some kind of intrigue, something in your message that just like cuts through the noise a little bit. It's not the same exact message that they're getting from everyone else. The way I like to think of this is like YouTube clickbait. The other thing is you want to make it clear that you're going to provide them value in your message. And then also you want to keep it as short as possible. Here's some examples of stuff that I've sent out in the past. So if you don't already know this about me, one of my big things is that I make original soul samples. So something that I've said sometimes is something like, yo, I make soul samples from scratch with real gospel choirs and musicians. Would love to send you some vibes. But yeah, another one that I've used specifically for more like type beat producers, I would do some research on what their top beats are. And I'd be like, yo, I got a ton of loops like this beat, this beat, this beat. I think they do great on your channel. Where can I send them through? Something like that. That's like just a little bit more, okay, this guy's actually like listening to my stuff. He knows what kind of stuff I need. And real quick, I'll just go through some other example messages. If you want to go with that paying to listen strategy to catch their attention, super easy. You could just say something like, I'll pay you $100 if you listen to my loops. You don't even have to use them if you don't like them. Ha ha ha, or something like that. You could also say, yo, I'm money ready. Would love to get some collabs in with you. So then at least you're guaranteeing that they're going to work with you, or at least you're hoping that you're guaranteeing. If you want to offer them some kind of value, you could hit them up like, yo, I'd love to do your next kit cover art. I'd love to video edit, whatever it is for free. Let me know if you're interested. Here's some of my work. To give you an example, it's something that just popped into my head. I'm running a producer camp in February in a mansion in LA. And one of my boys hit me up and he didn't necessarily have the budget to be able to afford to come there, but he was like, yo, I'm also a photographer and videographer. So if I get my own hotel, can I come to the house every day and just document the whole thing? So now he's actually providing me value because now I have a free videographer and photographer for the event. And now I'm sure when he comes, he'll also be able to network with some of the people who'll be in the room with these people and do some stuff on the side whenever he's not busy actually, documenting the stuff. So now in the future, if he ever needs something from me or he wants to work on some stuff, I'm going to feel more like he did this for me. I got to, do something for him. You get what I'm trying to say with all that. Anyways, hopefully some of that information helped you guys. And if I were you, I would add all your contacts into spreadsheets. So if you have a loop list, if you have a list of people that you're sending beats to, add all those contacts that you want to hit up in a spreadsheet so that you can keep them organized and stay consistent in hitting them up. All right. And lastly, I want to talk about how you can level up your business as a producer. Fundamentally, it is pretty simple. You need a good product and you need eyeballs. And if you combine those two together, you'll make money. Obviously, a lot easier said than done. But first, I want to go over some ideas on how you can make a good product. And the first thing I want to say is you really have to obsess over making the best stuff possible. Personally, like with my sound kits, I obsess about making them the best sound kit that I possibly can, just because I know that if the product is amazing, I can sell it for years. But anyways, let's get into some ideas. The first one that just comes naturally to me are sound kits, because that's what I've been hustling. And a lot of people just put out, the standard 30 loops for $30 kind of kits, and they struggle to get good sales with that, and they wonder why. I think the reason is, one, there's a lot more people doing that nowadays, but two, you're not really offering something like insanely valuable. So I think you should sweeten up the offer a bit. So let's say you have 30 loops. Let's also add in 30 midis, presets for Analog Lab, all this kind of stuff, and make a big production suite that has everything all in one, and put that at a higher price, but discounted compared to if you were to sell each individual component as its own kit. Now that's a lot more intriguing of an offer to someone who sees an Instagram ad who you're trying to sell it to. And you can do the same thing with beats. And I actually have proof that this works. If you go to the top charts on BeatStars, take a look at this. The top 3 selling beats right now are not single beats, 25 beats in one pack. Now, shout out Producer X, he has got to be killing it. So even though this is a higher ticket item than just like buying a $20 lease, this is way higher in value, and this is way more intriguing of an offer. If I was going hard selling beats, I would definitely kind of take the same approach that I take with my sound kits. Instead of dropping one beat, you can do that. You can drop the individual beats, but every once in a while, I would drop a big bundle and build a whole story around it, be posting about it on Instagram. Oh, I got something crazy, instead of just only putting out one beat every single day. And to even sweeten up that deal a little bit more, if you're at a smaller level where you actually have the time to do stuff like this, you could sell beat bundles to people, and with that comes a free mix and master. If you know graphic design, you could also say you get a free cover art, a free mix and master, all this kind of stuff. You can bundle all this stuff together. And obviously, that kind of stuff is time consuming, but when you're just starting out, doing stuff like that can be a great way to get some money coming in the door. So let's say say you've made an amazing product, how do you actually get eyeballs on it? The first method that a lot of people are not going to do just because they may not have the budget for it is paid ads. And the great thing about paid ads is it guarantees that you're getting traffic. It doesn't guarantee sale, but it guarantees you're gonna get people viewing your stuff. I built my sound kit company off of paid ads in the beginning. I didn't have this huge platform that I do now with YouTube. And for paid ads, I would definitely just focus on Facebook ads. I feel like that's the best place to go right now. And I'm not saying Facebook ads as in just running an ad on Facebook. Facebook and Instagram are part of the same company. So I run my ads in the Facebook Business Manager, but then those ads show up on Instagram and also Facebook. I grew a lot of followers on my sound kit company just by running ads on Instagram consistently for years. And also something that I'm going to start messing around with, but BeatStars just started their new ads program where you can do targeted ads. You can target keywords. You can see the actual sales conversions. In the past on BeatStars ads, you couldn't tell if you actually made any sales from the ads. So I would definitely look into that if you're trying to sell your beats. Even if you're just breaking even, if you're running ads consistently, you're going to get traffic to your site. You're going to build your brand. All of a sudden, you're going to have an actual fan base. And then if you were to turn those ads off, you have a following that you've essentially invested and paid for that you can continuously sell to in the future. But anyways, the next way that you can get eyeballs on your stuff is free organic content. So this one is harder to guarantee that you're actually going to get views, but it is free and it is more effective in the long run, like having a very strong organic brand, and you make more profit because you don't have to pay every time you want to post about something. But yeah, for organic content, make a YouTube channel, post Instagram Reels, post TikToks, be consistent, and that should get some traffic into your business as well. The next thing you can do, you can combine the paid ads and the organic content, but put out a bunch of free shit. Put out free beat packs, put out free loop kits, free drum packs, whatever it is that you could offer. You get people in the door with free stuff, and then assuming the free stuff is actually good, then they're going to come back and be like, yo, like I want to actually, get the real stuff. You know what I mean? Not just this free sample. And next up, while you're actually selling stuff, working on your paid ads, organic content, and putting out free stuff, you want to collect all their contacts for email marketing. So you get in these new customers, you get in these new people who free downloaded stuff, and you make sure that you're capturing their email on your website. Now you can take that and you can email market to them every single week, and that's where you can make the profits. And for anyone who's skeptical that email marketing is worth doing, I make anywhere from 40 to 50% of the revenue that I make selling kits on email marketing. Whether you're selling sample kits, whether you're selling beats, email marketing should definitely be something that you're serious about and that you look into in this next year. And another thing that I think is great, especially if you're kind of building a little bit of a following on Instagram stories are fucking sauce for making money, especially if you do it the right way. So I'll be giving you guys a little bit of sauce right here, but essentially what I like to do recently is I'll post something that's super attention grabbing or that gets a lot of engagement, and then the next story I post the sell, because then what happens is that story goes up so high that it also drives the views of the selling story that you're doing up as well. One more thing that I really just want to drive home with leveling up your business is value selling. If you're not making something super valuable and attention grabbing, you're going to have a very hard time cutting through the noise. It's not impossible, but my theory is if you can combine the best product possible with having an insane value for money trade, you can beat out a lot of people who, one, aren't willing to provide as much value for that amount of money, or two, aren't as skilled as you are. So if you can combine both of them, you got a winning formula. And with this value selling, also you want to work on creating a story behind it. You want to work on creating hype. If any of you guys don't know, I'm about to drop a kit called Melody Mastery, and I've been teasing it in my Discord server, on my Instagram stories. I've recorded some videos where I'm going through on all the new gear, all the new synths, and all the stuff that I've bought, essentially like a rollout, so that when I drop it, people have already been waiting for it and it sells a lot more fast instead of me just like surprise dropping it. And lastly, this goes with everything. You need to make yourself stand out. I'm not one of these people who thinks that you need to completely reinvent the wheel. You just need to be like 10 to 20% different from everyone else. Like if you think about like artists that blow up, the way they look, the way their voice sounds, like that's enough to make them stand out from the rest of everyone who sounds just like everyone else. Whatever it is that's unique, that on your Instagram profile could help you stand out and make someone actually want to work with you. For music, you could invest in gear. Like if you look right here, I've got this tape machine, I've got all these guitar pedals, I've got all these analog synths, I've got this acoustic piano over here, and I feel like that really helps me with getting placements, getting people to buy my kits, and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, like I said, I'm doing that 60% off the yearly pass for Sonic's Academy. You can get it in the first link in the description down below. Inside of there, I have a ton of course videos, a ton of masterclasses talking about everything that I talked about in this video way more in depth, like how to make 10K a month as a music producer, how to network, music theory, how to mix your melodies, all that kind of stuff. And I would love to have you join for the year and make this year your year. It's gonna be lit, it's gonna be fun, and it'll be the first link in the description. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. And one more time, thank you for 100,000 subscribers. But yeah, I'll see y'all. Peace.